Hello, and welcome back to another mini-sode of Natural Fibres. I'm Merike.
And I'm Kersti.
And this is just going to be kind of like a happy place to hang out amidst bad news in the world. You can just hang out with us and talk about books and movies and crafting. So, yeah, welcome.
Since it's a mini-sode, we're going to attempt to keep it a little bit short today, and just talk about highlights, some crafting news, and then we'll get ready for a bigger episode next time.
Yeah. Well, to start off with, what have you been reading lately? You said you had a list prepared.
I have a list. So I've actually been doing well. Not so well with my crafting, but I've read decently and good number of books this month. Been in the reading mood, and I'm very excited to be.
I mean, reading more than one a month is already a good number in my books. Oh, in my books! Fun.
I'm excited to, put out a blanket. It's getting warmer here, and we just had snow last night, so but it is getting warmer, and I'm excited to lay out blanket and, read and picnic and craft, and I think that season's coming soon. But yes, I've read 4 books this month.
Whoa.
There we go. That's my read. So first up, I read The Wedding People by Alison Espach. It was really popular last year.
Yeah, you talked about it on the last mini-sode, but you hadn't given it a full rating yet because you hadn't finished it.
So I gave it 3 skeins.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, not a huge fan of it. It ended up turning around, ended up liking the main character by the end.
Okay.
But
still didn't win you over.
No.
Yeah, okay.
And I kind of loved it because it's the first book I've ever read in a bit of a book club.
Mm.
And the other person in the club loved it. And I was like, wow.
Well, and it is interesting, have you ever, okay, sidebar, but same idea, where, I went to see a movie with my boyfriend and his sister and, a few other people. I thought the movie was actually, one of the worst movies I've ever seen this a couple months ago, and I was, I was considering going to the washroom and, farting around on my phone instead of watching the movie, because I was like, this is a waste of my time. I'd rather be on Pinterest.
Yeah.
And we left, and she was like, that was awesome! And I was like, okay, everyone likes different things. And
everyone
that is okay.
Does. Yes. Truly everyone
and
does.
And you just don't know how it's going to shake out, even though you know the person really well. And then they go, I loved it. And you go, oh, okay.
Yeah. No, then this is a good reminder of even with knitting and colors and everything, literally someone out there will like it.
Oh yeah. And that's where people are well, I need to curate whatever it might be, your business, your personality, even anything to have people to like it. And you're like, no, someone will like what you're already doing.
Yeah, someone
be true to yourself.
Okay, so next was The Fall Risk by Abby Jimenez, which I also gave 3 skeins. This one was a free book if you're a Prime member on Amazon. So it was a mini book.
Well,
it was good.
They do that. That's cool.
Yeah. You get 1 book a month.
Oh, that's cool. iTunes used to do that, the free song of the month. Huh.
And it's by a pretty popular author.
Yeah, I've heard the name even, and I don't read that much.
It was a forced proximity book because they get stuck in their apartment building because the stairs get taken out.
And so I read a book called Snowed In that was very similar.
Yeah, and they end up having to just get to know each other, and he helps her with her stuff, she helps him with his. Anyways, cute, but only 3 skeins.
Yeah, was it enjoyable, but it wasn't good?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Next up was The Wild Side by Elsie Silver. I love Elsie Silver. She writes a lot of small town romances based in Canada, mostly in Western Canada. She's Canadian. And Wild Side's based on the border of Alberta and BC. It's the 3rd book in the Rose Hill series, and I gave it 5 skeins because I just love all her books, and they're so good.
And this one didn't disappoint.
Did not disappoint. It was very good. It's a sort of single dad romance, and yeah, he's an MMA fighter. She runs a restaurant in town, and they end up having to take care of this child together, and yeah, it's really good.
It sounds like it probably got steamy. Did it get steamy?
It got steamy. Final book I've read is Fight by Sloane St. James. It's the first book in the Sky Ridge Hot Shots series. This one was, I gave 4 skeins. It picked up and it was really good. At first I was like, I'm not sure. Again, forced proximity because they're stuck during a snowstorm in a fire thing together. This one actually was picked by my husband because I was like, I need another book to read this week. And then I sent him like a bunch of options and he's like, you should read that one because I think he was like, it doesn't have a cowboy on the front.
Yeah.
So it'll be different.
Yeah.
But a cowboy and like a forest firefighter or like...
Mm-hmm. Cut of the same cloth.
Exactly. So I was like, little did he know it was like same energy.
Mm-hmm.
But it was really good and it was based in the Washington, the forests in like Washington State.
Okay,
and
cool.
Made me want to like go, I don't know, go for a hike or something. It was just like,
cool.
It set the mood of the forest really well.
Nice. 4 books. Hot dang.
I know.
Whoa. Wait, and you even started the 3 of those this month, right?
Yeah.
Because the other one I know you started earlier. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Good for you.
But the last, like, those 3 were like...
Well, like quick
couple
reads.
days,
But yeah, like the kind where you're like, ooh, and you just kind of read it for like 8 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And stay up until like 2 a.m.
Yeah. Love. A binge book.
Yes.
Love.
The Fight was definitely a bitch book.
Wait, that's the fire...
The firefighter.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Got it.
Actually, one other thing in the Fight book that made it more interesting than all of the other ones, because they kind of start to blend into each other, is the main female character was running away from a religious cult.
Oh,
she
okay.
was born and raised in a community that the whole town was a part of and they pay into and that kind of thing in like Arkansas. And I've never read something like that. So it went through like her emotional recovery from that.
Yeah.
And like hiding her identity and she's still married and that kind of stuff. So that made it a little bit different.
Makes it like a little bit soap opera-y perhaps, but in a good way.
But like also not, because there's a lot of
that's a real
documentaries
thing.
coming out right now about stuff like that.
Well, and like it's not as rare as you think, because a cult, quote unquote, can just, it can be not so dark and crazy as it sounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, made it a little bit more interesting.
Cool.
But those are my books.
Cool. I have not been reading anything lately. 0 things. But I did watch some things, if you want to hear about those.
Yeah, I haven't watched anything.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so have you heard of that new movie that came out with Robert Pattinson, Mickey 17?
Yes.
Okay, so I saw that in theaters because, well, we've been really trying to save money lately, so we had a coupon for, it's called like the Great Escape coupon, and it has 2 regular admission with like drinks and popcorn and whatever, and we were like, oh, perfect. This is finally a movie that we actually want to go to see in theaters. And I was like kind of going to indulge Adam because I was like, I don't really like sci-fi stuff, but I went and it was really good. Like really good. Like I was like,
was he very moody?
No, he was kind of like quirky and nerdy.
Oh.
Like his voice was even like different. Like he gave himself this weird. At first, I was like, oh my god, he's doing a weird voice in this movie. Like, I know him too well. Like, Robert Pattinson's just someone we all know too well from, Twilight and Harry Potter and whatever. But he's really broken out of that. And, like, by, like, maybe an 1/8 of the way into the movie, I was like, oh, wait, no, this voice has made him into, like, a totally different person.
That's good.
And there's a part, without spoiling anything, where, like, he's kind of a different person. I'm not going to spoil anything. But, like, you can see on his face that he's a different person. Like, he's very well acted. And it's very much less sci-fi than I was expecting. And, like, a lot more, like, kind of funny. Oh, I didn't mention it's by the same person that wrote and directed Parasite.
Oh, so
Bong
that kind of
Joon-ho.
vibe.
So it's, like, kind of thrillery, but, like, there's a lot of comedic, like, what's it called? Relief.
Mm-hmm.
Where, like, it's such a weird situation that you kind of go, oh my god, and you kind of laugh. But it's kind of sad, but, like, interesting. I don't know. I really liked it. I would say, like, go see it in theaters because it was worth seeing in theaters. Which, like, I haven't felt that way about a movie in a while.
I watched Twisters in theater, and I would 10 out of 10
That would be
say
cool.
it would be good.
Because
for
seeing that on
But
the big
before
screen,
that was a while.
Where, like, the last few things I've seen in theaters, I was like, I could have seen it at home. Yeah. But no, it was really good. Like, we were like, do you want to go see it again? Kind of thing. Like, I don't know. I thought it was really interesting. But yeah, so we saw that, and then...
What would you give it as a rating?
Oh, well, I gave it a rating on my movie rating app, and I gave it 4.5 stars on my app, so 4.5 scales.
That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. I struggled to give a 5-scan rating. Because a 5-scan rating has to be like, that was my favorite thing. Which, like, I only feel that way about, like, a handful of things.
I feel like it's easier for me for books, and we should probably do some sort of like how we're doing our rating scale at some point in time. Maybe on Instagram.
It's not scientific.
But like for books, I give a 5 skein or star to things that I would for sure pick up back up and could see myself wanting to read again within the year.
True. So you're thinking of it slightly differently.
Yeah, but you can't do that with TV shows and movies as easily because I don't know, different. I rewatch everything. So
yeah, true. Well, it's less weird to rewatch a movie than it is to reread a book because the investment is different.
Especially within the same calendar year. Like there's some books that I'm like, I have done that. Pick that up again.
But a movie's like way easier to rewatch. Yeah, true. Yeah. That's kind of harder to use that metric. Yeah, fair. But yeah, and then we watched, not to bring this up again, but we watched, so you know how we finished watching animated Avatar. Mm-hmm. I don't know if anyone knew about this, but a live action Avatar came out. Have you seen this on Netflix? It came out last year, and I somehow missed this.
Like the new movie?
No, it's a live action show.
Oh.
So it's live action Avatar, same show, but they've just revitalized it to some of the things are still CGI, but the people are real. And I was kind of not bought in because I was this is going to be one of those live action things where we didn't need a live action.
Like Snow White coming out right now.
Yeah. Do we need it? Probably not. But it's really beautiful. The original's still better. I'm a purist in the original. But the live action is really cool. And the CGI is really beautiful and they didn't over CGI it. And they got actually a pretty much fully Asian cast, which I actually think is pretty cool. And some of the characters are oh my god, you actually took the animated person and made them into a real person somehow. They cast them really well. So if you're an Avatar fan, then watch the live action because it's not disappointing. So
that's pretty good.
Yeah. But anyway, and then we have a new show that we started last night that just came out called Sakamoto Days. Which I was it's an anime, but I was it's going to be one of those fighty ones again, which I like sometimes, but sometimes I don't. It's really heartwarming. So it's this trained assassin, which sounds again fighty, but then he falls in, and I'm not ruining anything, this is in the description. He falls in love, and he ends up buying a convenience store with his love, and they have 2 kids, and he gets really fat, and he just becomes this really loving person. And, you basically just, see what happens after he retires from being an assassin.
Oh, so he's not even an assassin anymore?
No. Huh. We only watched one episode, so I really don't know.
So maybe he comes back to kill people.
Honestly, first episode, 5 skeins. First episode, I was I'm in. It was only 20 minutes, and I was you have my full attention. The animation's gorgeous, the characters were funny, it was heartwarming. I don't know. I like that. Yeah. Have you been listening to anything?
Nothing. Well, no, that's true. Not true. One, I realized, because it was only 10 episodes, so it flew by really quickly. I did watch The Running Point, the new show on Netflix by Mindy Kaling.
Oh,
and Kate Hudson is the lead, and it's loosely based off of the owner of the Lakers.
Okay. Wait, I saw on Netflix it went by in that preview thing.
Yeah, I'd say it's a 3.5 skeins.
That's pretty good.
Only because I feel it could have more episodes. I find they did this with when they did How I Met Your Mother or How I Met Your Father. Where they the first season they only did 10 episodes, and it's this kind of show is meant to be a 20 episode.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
You've almost made each episode a movie instead of making each episode an episode.
Yeah. But if you ever watch the Mindy Project, it feels the same way.
Mindy Project's so good.
Yeah, so it's I don't know, it's fun, a little bit more modern. I really liked it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't anything to write home about.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
But 3.5 skeins, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
For a situational show.
Yeah,
like that.
Those kinds of things, especially now that there are only 10 episodes, it makes me want to be okay, I'm ready for something else that's a Netflix cheesy.
Yeah,
show.
Give me a show that has 22 episodes and 5 seasons that I can get into.
Yeah, and I've run out of those. But what I've been listening to is the new F1 season started last week, and a podcast that I used to listen to 2 years ago came back, but with a new name. It's called Party Down, I want to say, or Party... Anyways, it's an F1 podcast done originally...
Just picturing it being no. No, that would be a NASCAR podcast.
But it was originally done by Dax Shepard, and it was called F1 by DRS, but it's gone through a name change, and Dax Shepard's no longer on it, but his friends are still running it. because they're like, we still watch F1.
Why not still talk about it?
Yeah. And it's just fun. And yeah.
Do they just like talk about the racers, or do the drivers or whatever?
They do like a recap of the race. But what I liked about it a lot is when they first started it, because a lot of people who listen to Dak Shepard's podcast are women, and so women were getting into F1 around when everyone was getting into F1.
Crossover.
They would do a lot of like teaching, and so that's why I like to listen to it, because they would explain like, what is DRS, what is this, what does that mean?
Yeah,
like,
and then you don't feel so out of the loop.
Yeah, and so I could like listen to the episode for like the pre-race and post-race, and I could like talk about it.
Oh, nice. Oh, that feels good.
And now I know more about it, so now I'm just listening to it because I like their takes. They always do who they think is gonna win, obviously the race.
Yeah.
And then they do who they think is gonna get P10, because that's like literally the middle, like.
Okay.
Because there's 20 drivers.
Yeah.
And it's kind of just like they bet on it and stuff like that.
That's fun.
And it's kind of just like, I don't know, it's a fun thing to guess. And they talk about their lives a little bit. They're all attractive, so that helps. And it's a good podcast. Okay, if you want to like get to know F1, but there's a lot out there. There's a lot of female run F1 podcasts also, which are awesome.
Really taken off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's what I'm listening to.
Cool. Amy Poehler, we love. I mean, I feel like, how could you not like her? She came out with a new podcast like this week, I think, called The Good Hang. Have you heard of it?
I only saw a little clip of Tina Fey on it.
Yeah, same. Okay. That's why I watched. So I didn't watch now the episodes because I listened to them on the way up here, actually. And so she's only 2 episodes out. With Tina Fey is the first one. Second one is Martin Short. And both are obviously awesome. Like, I love both of those guests. And yeah, it was just like exactly what it described, a good hang. Like, I laughed out loud in both episodes. Like, but it's kind of just like, you know, they're not really trying to give, like, Amy Poehler's, like, intro was basically like, I'm not going to give you advice. I have no advice. I basically just want to give you a place to hang out for when you're driving or waiting for something or whatever. And it is very much just that. Like, kind of just chatting. But I like it. Like, it's...
I like that.
And it's not even really, like, serious questions of any kind. It's kind of just like, hey, let's chat for 45 minutes.
Yeah, I think the piece I saw that was going viral was like Tina Fey saying that,
don't have a side hustle if you're rich.
Rich people shouldn't have side hustles, and I was like, this is hilarious.
I kind of agree, to be honest.
There is like one too many rosé brands, no shade to Daniel Ricciardo, one too many rosé brands, one too many like skincare brands.
Yeah,
like,
it's like
just like
this sounds like mean. This is like the meanest way to say it, but it's like kind of like stay in your lane. You are already making a lot of money where you exist. Why are you trying to take over other markets where other people are doing it better?
And also sometimes
people, your name on it.
Sometimes people slap their name on something and then you go and like buy it because you love that person.
And then it's not very good.
Yeah.
And you go, ugh.
Yeah, it almost can deteriorate people's impressions of you rather than
like if you make a great product, love it. Do it.
Yeah.
But if you're not willing to focus on a great product or a great service, then please don't.
Yeah.
Because you're kind of just, like, muddying the market for people who actually care.
Yeah. Which makes sense why we haven't seen, like, Tina Fey's name.
Yeah, Tina Fey said she does not want to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I get it.
But yeah, that podcast's fun. So yeah, The Good Hang. There's only the 2 episodes. Okay. Do you want to do what you've been making or what you're obsessed with?
I'll do making, because I'm not really obsessed with anything right now.
Whoa.
I know, it's been a
weird
weird month.
You feel mild about things right now?
I feel very mild. Except for, like...
The mild weather came and now you feel mild.
I feel mild. Let's see. Okay, so I'm a little bit farther than I was last time on my sweater.
You can actually see the color work.
So yeah, we're getting there. I haven't picked it up in like a week though.
It's
so
so
I should
soft.
really do that. But yeah, this is where I'm at.
How are you feeling about it? Are you happy with it?
I am very happy about it, but I think I got bored, which kind of sucks.
Yeah, I hate when you hit the hump.
Yeah, because it started showing up, and I got excited, and it was beautiful, and it's done enough that I can see what it's going to look like.
And now you're like, check mark,
I was like,
done.
I want to start something new.
Yep. No, you can't. You have to finish that. You actually have a deadline for that sweater.
Upside, though, is my husband's now home for a little stint, so I have, like, we have stuff that we save to watch with each other.
Yeah.
And I've dried up on the stuff that I watch by myself.
Yeah. So now you can knit this way you watch
So now
stuff.
I can knit rather than read, because this project also I can't read and knit.
Yeah, because you're following a chart, so it's not really...
So,
once you get to the sleeves, you can do everything. Unless you put pattern color work on it.
Do color work.
Yeah, because we talked about that, putting it here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But you can do from here to here.
This
just
is true.
speed knit.
Yeah. So, hoping to get some done. We're going to watch The Conclave this weekend.
Ooh, so, I've been wanting to watch that. That got a bunch of Oscars, right?
Yeah, and it has Stanley Tucci in it. And I love Stanley Tucci.
And Ralph Fiennes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fiennes. I like him too.
Yeah, so I'm hoping there might be a section where it's really tight because it was conclave watching.
Concave knitting.
But yeah, that's where I'm at.
Cool. Well, yeah, I've been having trouble crafting lately too, because I feel like every day...
You have too many projects.
Well, too many projects, but also, like, it's just, like, every day, by the time it gets to craft time, like, my normal craft time, it's, like, I'm exhausted. Like, I've made dinner, and it's 9 p.m., and I just want to, like, turn my brain off to the point where I'm literally, like... Meh. So that sucks, because normally, like, the way I turn my brain off is craft, but that hasn't really been the vibe lately. But I do have some update on my little shirt that I'm making for my nephew. It is still so tiny that you can barely see the progress, but it does look nice. You can actually see the stripies now. I mean, I don't know if anyone can actually see, but stripies! It's so soft also.
Holy crap, it's small.
I know.
This is like the smallest thing you've ever knit.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But yeah, so it's, again, I've mentioned it a couple times, but it is the Amélie T. Jr. by Petite Knit, and it's made with Sandnesgarn Sunday, which is a merino, super light fingering, so that's why it's such tiny stitches, but it's going to turn out really cute. And I feel like my knitting's just gotten a lot better as I've gone. Oh! This is something, I wrote this down as a personal craft news, is that while I've been knitting this, I realized once again that I've been knitting wrong. So my old knitting wrong was I was twisting my stitches.
Mm-hmm.
New reason that I figured out I've been knitting a little slower than normal is that, so you know when you are doing a knit stitch and you grab the yarn with your needle, I've been going under the yarn and, like, grabbing it.
Oh.
Which I guess is, like, maybe from crochet or something.
Yeah.
Because then I saw someone post something about, like, knitting faster, do this. And I was like, oh, of course you do that. And then I went to knit and I went, I don't do that. And so I started knitting where, like, the needle,
and now are
when
you
grab
like
it.
flying?
Yeah. So then I've realized you just put your needle over the yarn and pull it, like, very naturally through.
Yeah.
Which feels so obvious. But, like, I wasn't doing that.
That's hilarious.
So I must have just, like, either my mom taught me like that when I was a kid, because that's why I was twisting my stitches, or maybe I just, like, adopted that from because I've been crocheting so much.
Could be crocheting, yeah.
But that, like, just seemed odd. So anyway, now I've been knitting fast.
Now you're like,
Yeah, now I'm like, oh, what the heck was I doing before?
Is it making you want to make, like, a petite knit sweater for yourself?
Yeah, but it's still so small. Like, I just...
Well, you can do it on, like, normal-sized yarn.
Yeah. Well, like, I thought you meant make one of these t-shirts for myself. Because there is an adult pattern for this. But
no, I was putting you onto DK or worsted.
Like, no, I want to do, like, worsted. Like, I'm literally pining after, like, a DK weight project after this. Like,
I mean, you got the yarn for it.
Yeah. Well, I chose the colors finally for that sweater that I mentioned that other time, the Bloom pullover. And I'll put a photo. And I'll also put a photo of the yarn that I chose. Because I chose, like, a muted pinkish peachish color for the contrast color, and then just a cream for the main color in Corridale and then the Corridale Gotland is the peach one. So anyway, that I have chosen colors for, but I'm not allowed to cast on.
No, I've restricted myself to, so I've been trying to forcefully finish the sleeve on the Agnete cardigan that I've been doing for 2 years, and I'm getting there because I'm saying I can't have more than 2 projects on the go at a time. Yes, I have a sweater that's needs sleeves in the basement, but I'm mentally blocking that one because it's a cable and I'm not doing that till the fall.
Okay, fair.
So I will only allow myself to have 2 projects
in rotation is what you mean.
Yes. And I really want to knit. This is my, like, flaw, is I go plan a trip and then I want to knit something for it.
Same.
So I want to knit a, like, white or light blue sweater for Estonia.
But you already have a white sweater. You know, you can have more white sweaters.
I can have more white sweaters.
Yeah.
So, catch me all of a sudden speed knitting. But, you know what I want to do it with? Koigu Cheers and Koigu Sophie held together.
Ooh, that'd be so soft and fluffy. And light.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I just want a sweater that I can, like, tie around my neck and then, like, throw on if it's cool.
And, like, all one color?
I haven't decided yet.
Okay.
I just decided that I think Cheers and Sophie held together would be really pretty.
Really pretty.
So that's kind of where I'm at.
Cool. I like
but
that.
I'm not even letting myself pick the yarn yet.
Yeah. Ugh, I know.
I think it would be good if I got my sweater to, like, the body being done. No, and then finish the sleeve. No, but finish the sleeve on the Agnete cardigan and get the body done to this. And then allow myself to start something new.
Fair enough.
I have to block myself.
Oh, I guess I could show... I haven't fixed it yet, so I don't even really want to show it. I'm not going to show it. I'll show it when I fix it. But I did also start designing a floral scarf, like a crocheted scarf, out of a Koigu pencil box. And it looked really pretty my first try, but I realized my stitch count was wrong, so I tried again, and now it looks ugly. So, third try will hopefully be the charm, because I think I've figured out...
The problem?
The math.
Oh.
It's just that the stitch pattern I'm using is like these little flowers, and that doesn't... It's not like normal stitch number. It, like, the flower uses... Like, creates a shape where it doesn't... It's not like one stitch per stitch. So it's the counting of how many stitches does this flower take up. That's where, like, I can't math it. So I think I've gotten it now. I think. But
yeah, that's when you start to realize that crafting is literally just a series of math equations.
Yeah, well, and, like, it sucks when you start to try to write a pattern, which I've written a couple, but they were simple, where this is, like, I understand what I'm doing if I fudge it a little, but you can't do that when you're writing a pattern. Like, I'd fudge a couple stitches and it would look great. Like, my first try of this scarf, I could have fudged it and it would have looked great.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to tell. But if I'm writing a pattern, you can't be like, when you get to this row, just make up the number of stitches. Well, like, the person's like, why did I pay for this pattern?
Yeah, exactly. Like, the people that are buying the pattern are the ones that don't want to be doing the math.
Exactly. Well, I read it somewhere, a designer said online somewhere that, like, I have made all these mistakes so you don't have to. That's literally what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that.
So, yeah, that's my works in progress, but I am literally fighting to not try making some new things. I have, like, summer tops I want to make, and a little sarong that I bought yarn for a couple months ago.
Yeah, there's a tank top that I want to... maybe our next episode can be spring and summer knits.
Yeah.
Because there's a few patterns that I would love to do, but it means knitting with, like, fingering weight yarn, and I don't think I would love to do it that badly.
Well, that's where I'm currently stuck. It's almost lace weight, the yarn I'm using.
It's very like, thin.
It's nice, but oh my goodness, you see your progress and go, that's a couple weeks of progress? My God.
Yeah. But the benefit is a fingering weight tank top can be really nice. And I've done DK weight.
And tank top goes pretty quick.
Yeah, I hope. Mm-hmm. But we're not there yet. I might not even do that this year, so we'll see.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I have random stuff to talk about. You go first, and then I can just...
I have a few newsy things.
Okay.
And let's see what I have pulled together. Okay. I saw a post. Well, first of all, we've talked about her previously, but I've been seeing posts on Instagram of, like, insert her post here, how to find, like, yarn for cheaper.
Yeah. Like budget crafting.
Budget crafting, yeah. Yes. But I've also been seeing, like, finding your people kind of thing, like those kinds of posts.
Yeah.
And it led me to thinking about finding knitting groups locally for yourself.
Yeah.
And we would love to start one in our area at some point in time. But in the meantime, ways to find knitting groups that I've been seeing, obviously Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah.
Just literally searching your town and searching for it.
Yeah.
Go to your local craft store. My, like, ding dong moment was libraries. So many libraries are, like, encouraging people to come borrow books, as they do, but they're also trying to bring people in the door. A lot of libraries are really busy nowadays because so many people are reading, which is awesome, but they also have craft rooms.
Yeah. Well, and even just, like, they have, like, if you look up the scheduled events and workshops at a library, there's endless ones.
Yeah,
like, unless maybe you're in a tiny town, I don't know.
But even tiny towns, I'm we're in the middle of nowhere, and all the local libraries are doing cricket workshops, they're doing loom activities. Yeah. Like, there's just so much, and I think often it's easy to, like, kind of forget about the library. I feel like you go as a kid, and then you kind of forget unless you're, like, a really avid reader. Yeah. And then you start going again for other reasons. But, so check out your local library, and also check out coffee shops. And this could be, like, totally out of your comfort zone, but I feel like there's at least every local coffee shops has some sort of group gathering. Go and ask usually. The barista, go and ask someone and say, like, do you know of something going on? The tricky thing about, like, social media is there's just so much out there that sometimes I think it's hard to find what's going on. But there might be something going on, and you just go ask, be like, hey, do you know of anything craft related? And there probably is something, because it seems like once you start to find it, there's stuff everywhere. Yeah. But yeah, find your people. It's also okay to want to just craft by yourself and watch a movie, because that's my, like, happy place. Yeah. Totally. But I think as the weather gets nicer, especially here in Canada, sometimes you all of a sudden want to, like, go out and see people and talk to people. Yeah. And if you do, go to those places, because I think you'll find that there's just a lot of people also wanting social interaction right now.
Well, and, like, maybe your non-crafty friends are sick of hearing about your random craft rants, and you need someone to craft rant to.
Exactly. Okay, and then my other news item is the Financial Times, which I read religiously, partially for work and also partially because I'm a political and financial nerd. I did an article called Cool Knitting Patterns Do Exist. Put it right here. And I just thought it was hilarious. And it's primarily talking about the Sophie scarf and how the Sophie scarf has taken European knitters by storm. And there's some crazy percentage of knitters now in, like, Norway, all the countries you could expect, all the people we follow on Instagram and love. And yeah, if you want to take a look and maybe have a little laugh if you have been knitting for a very long time, Cool Knitting Patterns Do Exist is just, like, it's just a funny article.
It's such a funny title, because it's like, yeah, no crap, they exist.
So yeah, that was my knitting news.
Cool. Yeah, we'll put the link to the article. Or is it behind a paywall, or can people read it?
I think you can read your first one free. So
make this your one article you get free,
and you'll learn about the Sophie scarf.
Okay, my news pieces are very, like, short and small, but there's many of them.
Okay, I like
so
that.
I'll just, like, kind of ramble them off. Okay. And stop me when you don't want to hear any more. Okay, random, some of them are, like, personal news, but some are, like, wider news. Okay. So, first random small personal news that's crafty is, so I went to a cafe with my mom recently. She has crocheted and knit her whole life, and she learned to crochet and knit from our great-grandmother and her grandmother. So she was working on crochet, and, like, you know, have you ever seen, like, filet crochet? It's, like, where, like, basically it's, like, mesh crochet, like, you knit in, like, squares, kind of, or, sorry, you crochet in, like, squares, like, to make a mesh, but then, like, you make solid parts, like, pixelated, so, like, it's almost like a lace doily, but, like, your shirt has, like, let's say a flower that's solid, but the rest is, like, a mesh. Okay. So that's filet crochet. Anyway, so I mentioned that to my mom, and she goes, like, oh, well, I want to try that. So she started doing it, and then I look at her work, and I'm like, that's pretty, but, like, what are you doing here? And she goes, what do you mean? And I go, like, what stitch is that? And she goes, well, I don't know. And I go, well, like, is it supposed to be a double crochet? And she goes, I don't know what that is. And I go, but you've been crocheting your whole life. And she goes, I don't know what any of the terms are. Like, I learned in Estonian, and I never really was told anything. And she said, I don't know if I'm doing it right or wrong. And I went, oh, well, do you want a little lesson? So then I taught my 60-something-year-old mom, who's been crocheting her whole life, the basic construction of crochet. And I just thought that was so funny, because I was like, wait a minute, you don't even know, like, I was like, do you know the difference, like, in height of stitches? And she was like, no. And I was like, oh, well, hold on a second. So then all of a sudden I gave her, like, a basic crash course of the cafe, and she goes, oh, that makes so much more sense. And I was like, oh, well, there you go. It's just funny.
That's so funny. I love that. Also, I could totally imagine that scenario happening where you're just like, okay, we're starting from the beginning.
Yeah. Like, she can make anything. But her technique was, like, totally made up. And, like, there was this weird piece of yarn that was beside all of her chains. And I was like, what is that? And she was like, well, I don't know. I've always had that. And I'm like, that's not supposed to be there. Like, what are you doing?
On that same note, personal crafty news, my mom and I have been going to pottery classes.
Yes, oh true, you didn't mention.
The respect for people who throw and buy, those people that I buy their pottery, because it is hard and, like, humbling. And,
what are you, 4 lessons in?
4 lessons in, yeah.
And how are you feeling now?
I was able to make some solid, like, tubes last night. Nice. I still can only really pull my pottery up, like, this much.
Okay.
And there's people in the class, like, they're just literally killing it. But yeah, I feel like anytime I pick up a new craft and I don't get it off the top, it's so humbling, but I kind of like it. Yeah. Because I'm, like, a very competitive person, so I want to be better.
I'm gonna get this. Yeah.
But it's still just, like, yeah, it's one of those that I wouldn't say you have to be a natural at it, but
there's a feel for it.
And definitely, like, hours and hours of practice. Yeah. But we're liking it, and it's a fun little mother-daughter thing. We're looking to do maybe stained glass next, because the local arts center has just a ton of classes.
Yeah, that's awesome. Is it a 6-week thing? So you only have, like, or 6-class thing or something? So you only have 2 more?
Yeah, something like that. So we have, like, our next one we're learning about trimming, because I think last night's class was the last throwing class. And then we learn about trimming, and then they go to be fired and glazed after.
Do you get to, so, like, you've made some pieces that you're going to keep, like, they're going to dry and you're going to fire them?
Yeah, we'll see how they last. Apparently, like, when you're, like, a newbie, a lot of them don't.
Just crumble. Yeah. Well, because your, like, thickness is off, or, like, maybe you got a weird,
so we get to see. But, yeah, I think I'll probably only have, like, 2 or 3. Apparently, we can have, like, up to 5, I guess, that we want to keep. Okay. I think I'm probably only going to have, like, 3 pieces, because last night I did quite well. I think I had, like, 3, like, cups/bowls. But the class before, I was just, like, last Sunday, I was having, like, hitting a wall of, like, nothing. Also, I have nails. Yeah. And so I have to, like, work around that. Not impossible. But I've just been finding my own way. Yeah. And I think I like it anyways, because I have very hyper flexible fingers. So I think working with my knuckles is actually better. Okay, perfect. Because, like, working with my fingers, even without the nails, like, they don't do what you want them to do. Like, they're always bending.
Fair. So. Yeah, I guess the only thing would be if you have, like, as much, like, feeling in your knuckles, like, to feel, because you need to, like, feel how far apart your fingers are to know how, like, thick your vessel is and stuff.
There's a lot of things I've done of, like, crossing my hands together so I'm centered, and then, like, bringing down and pulling together.
Weird claw hand.
Yeah. So, I don't know.
Okay, fun. Cool. That's awesome.
Maybe, not in a couple weeks I'll be able to show my pieces.
Yeah. Well, and it's, like, cool because every craft you learn, like, yes, maybe pottery and knitting don't have much crossover, but there's still, like, that same, like, appreciation for patience that maybe you are now learning in pottery that'll be, like, transfer over to knitting or, like, whatever. There's, like, color or whatever, that everything gets put together.
Yeah, I think learning something new is, like, so good for yourself.
Unlocks potential in other areas that you haven't explored.
Exactly.
As cheesy as that sounds.
Yeah. And when I do finally have my finished cups that are probably going to become, like, little espresso cups once they're fired, you best believe that you will have to drink out of them, and I'll be like, these are my cups.
Yeah, I will.
You must
love them. Because you're proud. Like, it gives you appreciation for the thing that you didn't 100%. Know meant so much to the person who made it.
Like, I sometimes need to get external gratification for my knitting. Yeah. Because I'm like, I knit that. It was whatever.
No big deal. Yeah.
And people are like, you knit that? And I'm like, yeah, it wasn't that hard.
You're like, oh, right, that is cool.
So.
Yeah. No, totally. Yeah, I mean, it's like anytime I draw something, it's like a doodle. And, like, I'm not, like, an amazing artist. But, like, then someone will be like, oh, that's really cool. I'm like, well, I don't know. That's just a doodle. And then you go, oh, okay, maybe it is cool. Like, you need to, like, look at it from outside yourself. Yeah. Okay, random other crafty news is, have you heard of, like, the project diary concept? So I saw someone, crafty person on Instagram, post that they have a project diary, and I was like, okay, that is so type A, but I like it. And I don't know that I'll ever get to this level of organization, but basically it's a diary of everything you've, like, knit or crochet, or it doesn't have to even just be knit or crochet, any craft project, but this one I saw was for knitting. And basically they put on each, like, they had a spread open of, like, they had the yarn label for the yarn they used, like a little piece of it cut out, doesn't have to be the whole thing.
Yeah.
A little piece of the yarn so you can see what color, like what exact yarn and fiber, whatever you used. And then they had a Polaroid picture of the finished piece in there, and they had notes of like sizing and like whatever in there. And I was like, that is, well, one, it looked beautiful.
Yeah.
But two, it's just like, that is a really nice way to commemorate. Like, you spend so much time on this sweater, and you spend so much time on this thing that you've worked on. And, like, yeah, okay, maybe you took a process photo or two, and maybe you posted it on your Instagram, but, like, this is, like, a really, like, tangible thing that I could imagine, like, you keep, like, these on your craft room shelf or something, and you look through them and go, wow, like, I did that. And, like, now you know if you want to make that again, you have all the sizing and everything. I don't know. I just...
Yeah. I feel like I would like that for, a lot of the stuff you give away.
Yeah.
Like, I've made, like, so many tiny things. Like, even, I forgot I made my nephew a blanket when he was born. And they were talking about it at Christmas. And I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, you probably, like, took a photo, and this photo's somewhere. But you, like, kind of forget that even happened.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's like when you look through this project diary, you're like, oh my god, that thing.
Like,
yeah, that
and
I spent
could
20
only
hours
imagine,
on.
like, viewing it, like, visually. Because I am, like, a paper person.
Yeah,
I think
same.
visually seeing how many you've done would be cool too.
Yeah. Yeah. So I really like that, and I was like, ooh, okay, probably not gonna do that, but I want to. But I want
I would
to.
like to
I
be
really
that type
want to
A.
do it. But anyway, yeah. And then another random thing was I saw oh no, I didn't see it. Someone at the yarn store I work at, she said I was saying that I was struggling with balancing all my works in progress, and I was like, I don't know how to, like, I feel guilty when I work on one, but I haven't finished that one, blah, 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 blah. And she goes, well, I have a schedule. And I go, you have a schedule? She goes, yeah, I schedule out my projects. And I was like, what do you mean? She says every day of the week, she has a different project. Mondays is socks. Not that, but whatever. For example,
this feels
Mondays
like a
is
workout
socks.
schedule.
Tuesday is her sweater. Thursday, whatever. Every day of the week, and maybe there's days of the week where you don't have time. Fair enough. But she said, and as soon as one gets finished, she slots in a new one. And, like, she has this rotating schedule so that she gets to satisfy all of those things without feeling like the chaos of which project. And, like, she said, like, it doesn't count that she has an extra pair of socks in her travel bag that she keeps also that is not in the rotation. But I was like, it's funny. But anyway, I was like, that's kind of like the whole mood crafting idea, but a bit more organized.
An organized, version of that.
And I was like, I like that. But also, am I that organized? Again, like the project diary. It's like, it's a bit too organized, but I like it.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of, like, people who work out at the gym, and they're like, today's leg day, back day, arm day, that kind of thing, and it's like...
It's sock day. It's hat day.
I wasn't that way when I worked out at the gym.
Me neither,
so
but I get it.
Yeah. I would like to be.
Yeah, I
Maybe we should do, like, a test of, like, can we do that for a week?
Yeah. I want to do that. And I have enough projects to fill each day, for sure. I just am, like, ignoring them because I feel guilty not finishing one first.
Yeah, maybe we'll draft, and on our making Instagrams, we'll do, like, the first week of April or something.
Yeah.
An attempt.
Yeah, because, like, I've also been seeing someone doing mending Monday. And I was like, well, that could be the mending Monday, Tuesday's whatever, you know? Like,
I like alliterations?
Yes, I do. Tuesday's toque day. No, I don't want to make any toques, but whatever.
We'll work on it. We'll keep each other accountable.
Yeah. Then random other craft news is I was listening to a podcast that I mentioned last week that's called The Long Thread podcast, and on that I listened to the knitwear designer Laura Nelkin, and the news from that is very short. It's just that on April 5th, if anyone's interested, there's a thing called the Knit for Food Knit-a-thon.
Oh.
And it's 12 hours of knitting, but they said, like, they're not super strict on it. Like, no one's checking that you're knitting for 12 hours. But basically, you're raising money for you to knit for 12 hours. On April 5th from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. I don't know what time zone that is. But basically, you raise money to fund, I think it's called, like, Feed America and a couple other, like, different, I think it's, like, the World Hunger Organization, things like that. And, like, it's just, like, oh, okay, you can do something good with your knitting. And, like, it doesn't have to be just knitting. It can, like she said, you can sew, like, anything. But it's just called the Knit-a-thon because it needs a name. But I was like, oh, okay. So, yeah, April 5th, if anyone wants to do that. So you can sign up online, and, like, I think the minimum donation is, like, $100. So even if you just want to participate and donate yourself, you don't want to ask anyone for money, cool.
That's fun.
Yeah. So I was like, I like that. And then another random thing is that I read somewhere that micro trends are dead. And I was like, huh, what does that mean? And then I like watched a video about it too. And I think they're right. Like micro trends, you know how like there was very, very tiny bursts of like everyone's wearing this thing. Or like everything looks like this. Or like very tiny, tiny trends. Like they basically said micro trends are kind of like low, like it's like very low fashion to do micro trends now, which I think that's kind of always been the case. Of our like, you can nicheify. Like I think being a niche is a bit different than a micro trend. Like the flashes in the pan, I think are kind of over.
Which I think that makes sense though, because the Gap is in again.
Yeah,
and the Gap is like the antidote or antithesis. Is it the antithesis?
Yeah, I know what you mean. The opposite.
The opposite of a micro trend. Like I think of micro trends, I think of like Zara, H&M, Forever 21. The Gap is like you're wearing a jean on jean.
Yeah,
you're wearing a t-shirt.
Good,
and
clean
then you
basics.
add a little bit extra from another. Like maybe you go to like Banana Republic, you stay in the Gap family, or you go to like Anthropology and get a really beautiful scarf.
Yeah.
And you just do that. I've also been wearing a lot of jean on jean recently.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of loving it.
Well, it doesn't mean to be just boring either.
No.
But I think it's kind of like, it's almost like in the other side of that where it's like thrifting kind of allows you to shop any trend from any time, which again is not prescribing to the micro trend that's currently in. It's just wear what you want. Yeah. Which is kind of like different than what we said in our first episode where it was very much like these trends. But I guess when the trends we talked about were very broad.
Yeah. Also, knitting trends is so not a micro trend either because you literally have to spend months knitting whatever you're doing on trend.
Yeah.
So I feel like knitting trends, like the Sophie scarf has been already around for like a year or two, and it's going to be around for a couple more years.
Yeah.
And it's like the smallest and fastest thing you could ever knit.
Yeah.
When you said micro trends are dead, I got really sad for a second, but then I realized this isn't really a micro trend. It's one of those like, remember how like last year was like coastal grandma? This year is like fisherman.
Yeah, fisherman aesthetic. Is in.
And I'm like, that's not... I got sad because I was like, oh no, but I really like the fisherman aesthetic. But that's not a micro trend.
No, it's like, I think the very broad... I think what they said in the video and the thing I read was like, it was like micro trends are dead, the vibe is in. Where it's like, yeah, there's a very broad vibe, but it's not like everyone has this sweater.
Yeah.
Or like everything looks exactly like this or this color. Like it doesn't really... Yeah.
No, I like that.
Yeah.
Because I do like a trend, and I like to follow that to an extent, but like I very much aligned with the coastal grandma. That was the theme of my bachelorette.
But you still kind of dress like that because that is you.
That is me. But I like the fact that me was on trend.
Yeah. Well, and that's it comes and goes,
now it's like
but you're still not going to
trend.
change who you are because like you've always. I think we've been pretty stable in what we've worn because our styles are kind of off trend.
Yeah, I'd say the only time was in university when I would buy those micro trend things to go out. But now I'm like, I just want a good pair of jeans.
Yeah.
And then
add your personality. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I mean, basically the last thing I wanted to mention was basically we were saying we got into, like Koigu got into a couple different craft shows. So we were going to just tell you what they are so you can kind of mark them down in your calendar and maybe we'll see you there because that would be cool. So I guess the closest one would be Knit City, Montreal, right?
Yeah, I was going to say we could mention that you'll be at H+H Americas. So if you run a yarn shop.
Oh yeah, or you're a designer or like you're in the yarn industry of some kind, you can buy a ticket and it's in Chicago. It's a trade show, but I mean you're allowed to go as long as you have some reason to be there industry-wise. But yeah, we'll be there.
We'll put all the dates.
Yeah. And then the next, like, the retail show for, like, everybody is, Knit City, Montreal. So me and Kersti will be there. So that's fun. That's in May. Again, we'll put the dates. And then the next one following that will be...
Flock in Seattle, which I'll be at. I don't think you'll be at.
Yeah, no, I won't be there in August.
Yeah. And so I will be there in Seattle, which that should be fun. And then right after that, literally the week after, is the Koigu tent sale.
Yeah.
So
it's our 10th anniversary tent sale.
Which is wild.
So we're trying to make it a bigger, like, Fibre Festival vibe, hopefully. So more details on that one.
But yeah, if you've ever wanted to come up to the farm, and then we'll be here and hanging out and having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then after that, we're in Knit City, Vancouver.
And KW Craft, what is it called? KW...
Knitters Fair?
Knitters Fair,
yeah.
And then Knit City, Vancouver.
So we'll be there. And then we just found out this week we got accepted to...
a Woolen affair.
In Rhinebeck. So that's one of the offshoot shows happening around the same time. It's a single day. We're really excited because it also gives us the chance to go to Rhinebeck.
Yep. Which, if anyone doesn't know what that is, it's like just
New York
Sheep and Wool Festival, right?
Yeah.
In Rhinebeck, New York. That's why it's called that. But yeah.
In October, so the heart of the fall, and it's going to be gorgeous. And we're probably going to road trip it. Yeah. And so that'll be really exciting.
Yeah. But so yeah, that's basically our big schedule. I'm sure there's other things that'll pop up in between, but those are the main places where you can find us. Mm-hmm. So that'll be fun.
Which is exciting.
So
it's
mark
a busy,
them down.
busy crafting year.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much all I had today. Oh! Hold the phone. Last thing is, you kept talking about all the books you've been reading. Mm-hmm. Have you heard about the book blanket?
No.
So, people are knitting and crocheting them, and when you read a book, when you're done, you, inspired by the cover art, you make a square. And
That's
so whether it
cool.
be a granny square or a mitered square or whatever, like, do whatever you want. But yeah, you, inspired by the cover art, you make a little square.
That's cool, like a temperature blanket, but for books.
Yeah, but for books. And then, like, it's a little less, like, rigid with, like, there's only 6 colors or whatever. It's, like, whatever colors and whatever vibe is the cover, you make it that.
I like that.
Yeah. So I was like, that's so fun. I feel like you'd like that. Anyway, so I'll leave you with that idea. But, yeah, that's pretty much all I have for today.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Well, maybe for our next episode, I think we'll cover trends coming for spring and summer.
Yeah.
Or not necessarily trends, but like patterns we're loving.
Yeah, and we had mentioned that we were going to share some like free resources for crafting that we like to use and maybe ones we want to try. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, stay tuned.
Okay. Bye, everyone!
This podcast is sponsored by and part of the Koigu family. The opinions expressed in this episode are not representative of Koigu Wool Designs as a company and are not meant to be taken as business advice. Learn more about Koigu at koigu.com and at Koigu Wool on Instagram.